Steve Zimmer, everybody. Welcome Steve Zimmer to the stage.
Eighth grade science fair. Ms. Leif gives us a choice. Do a paper on our own or a project with a randomly assigned partner. Now, I'm not very together for a tween, so I go for the project, hoping to get paired with a smart, ambitious, organized girl. Instead, I get renowned drug user, eighth grade drug user Glenn Thompson. Glenn favors amphetamines, which, ironically, I'll be required to take as a young adult for severe ADD. Given the composition of our team, we decide to do a baking soda-based volcano. Unfortunately, my junior high has a culture of low achievement, and there's a preponderance of volcanoes, leading Ms. Leif to ban them. Plan B, hydroponics. We'll do it as a horse race, plants in water versus plants in soil, and settle the controversy. So, first up, we need seeds. And luckily, even though we have a small yard, every year my dad buys thousands of seeds from Burpee Seed Catalog, just in case the U.S. reverts to an agrarian economy. And I borrow 8 pea plant seeds and take them over to Glenn's. Glenn's parents are divorced. He lives with his mom and brother at notorious Golf Mill Apartments. The one place my mom never let me go trick-or-treating. And it's my first visit to a broken home. And it's pretty crappy, except that they have a VCR, which we don't. So we plant 4 seeds, little styrofoam cups in soil, and 4 seeds in a suspended substrate, aka wet paper towels in styrofoam cups. Now, the expensive part of hydroponics is the nutrient solution. So that's where we really save money. Glenn figures that tap water will have enough minerals, especially in his building. And so, we do all that, and then we watch Easy Rider on the VCR. And the next day, we go back and we watch, we look at the plants, then we watch The Graduate. And I'm like, we must be the only 2 guys in our school who have seen this movie. Like most of the boys are obsessed with sports, and I'm not, which isolates me socially. And Glenn, even though he's a great athlete, isn't. And he's considered very cool. A lot of girls are into him, but he's he's actually very solitary. And 10 days later, after 10 days, the soil seeds still have not sprouted, but the hydroponics are flourishing. By now, I'm going there every day, and we'll just water the plants, and then watch a movie, and then talk about it for 2 hours. And Glenn knows a lot about movies. He's really insightful. He's very smart. He could be a great student if he tried, but I know better than to say that. A week later, Glenn mentions that he's going by his dad for spring break. And I'm really bummed because I was hoping we'd spend it together. And also because the science fair is 2 days after spring break. But we're like, okay, we decide that I'm going to pre-write the paper based on the assumption that hydroponics wins. And his mom, a secretary, will type the paper, and his brother, a drug dealer, will watch the plants. And I'm skeptical about the brother, but Glenn's like, no, he's very enthusiastic about hydroponics. And so it turns out too enthusiastic, like he's measuring out all this distilled water, which you shouldn't use because that starves the hydroponics plants. Meanwhile, the soil plants are thriving. So by the time he gets back, 2 days to the science fair, our plants are the exact opposite of our paper. So we have 2 choices: redo the paper from scratch, or dishonestly switch the plants. Switching the plants proves to be surprisingly tricky. You can't just rinse the dirt off the roots. You have to wrap them in paper towels and then slowly pour water on them. like waterboarding, and and I don't like cheating, but including hydroponics fraud. But we're desperate, and it's not like we're going to win the science fair with hydroponics. So the day of the fair, they score the papers first, and Kathy Wilt, the girl with scoliosis, is in the lead with her paper on scoliosis. And our judge comes by at 5 p.m. and she smiles and at us and looks over our project and then leaves. 10 minutes later, Ms. Lake comes by and says, "Come with me." She leads Glenn and I upstairs and puts us in separate empty classrooms. One containing water, the other containing soil, no kidding. So I wait alone in room 8 as she interrogates Glenn in room 9. Now, our punishment will be minimized if we both claim ignorance. But individually, we each have the incentive to screw the other guy. This is known as, this is a classic prisoner's dilemma. And the prisoners can save themselves with a combination of trust and sacrifice, making this, metaphor for larger things, making the metaphor for larger things like marriage. So I don't know which way Glenn is going to go. It's like on one hand, he's my closest friend. On the other hand, his family's not exactly the Brady Bunch. Later I find out that he told Ms. Leif that I switched the plans. Luckily, I protected myself by blaming it all on him. So having incriminated each other, we get the maximum penalty, flunking. And he and I never speak or even make eye contact again. Kathy Wilt ends up winning the overall science fair that year, but first prize should have gone to Ms. Leif for her concise, revealing, and cruel experiment on a prisoner's dilemma and the nature of man. Thank you.
Keep it going for Steve Zimmer, everybody.